My name is Brian Rice. I'm a third-generation wine grower, and I've been making wine for over 2 decades here in Santa Barbara wine country. It's more than a job. It's a calling. Join me as I talk to my fellow winemakers in a series that is a candid conversation between winemakers discussing their wines, their craft, and their lives over 2 glasses of wine. So on that note, why don't I introduce, I'm here with Jill Russell from Cambria Winery. She's the winemaker there for the past 2 years. And I'm Brian Rice, your host. Thank you for joining me
Thanks
to
for having
discuss
me. It's
your
beautiful.
wines.
Yeah.
This is going to be very interesting to me because I come from a very small family boutique winery experience for the last quarter century, and you guys have been around for about as long. Kendall Jackson purchased the Tepisque bench and started Cambria Winery many years before us. And so I've seen that vineyard blossom and become internationally acclaimed thanks to their family. And they really had vision as far as running a larger wine business and allowing winemakers at each site to have their own autonomy and their own creative capacity to make wines, craft wines from the site. Tell me about that.
Pretty special coming in and thinking, okay, I'm part of something bigger, but actually it's a family there. So these cellar guys that have been there 25 years, 20 years, they really do care for Barbara and the daughters, Julia and Catherine. It's pretty special that she just wants you to make the best wine and really show off the estate that is really near and dear to their heart.
So I remember my first taste of wine. It was so good, and I actually switched from drinking beer to specifically Zinfandel. I fell in love with Zin. Tell me about your first wine, and did that inspire you to get into the wine business?
Yeah, so my first wine was Sangiovese, randomly. What I fell in love with was everything about wine, the food, the beauty of the vineyard. I knew I wanted to get into wine. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a vineyard manager when I stepped into Cal Poly, so it was viticulture focused. And I worked in the vineyard and I realized I don't want to be hot and dusty. So then I switched to the wine making, and at Cal Poly they make you take a quarter off and you work in a winery. I just fell in love with it. I actually stayed working nights stirring barrels just while I went to school, just because I was in love with the smells and in love with everything about it. And I know the vineyard, it all starts in the vineyard. I just didn't want to be hot in the vineyard. I don't mind working hard in the cold winery though. Okay, so today I brought to share with you, it's pretty fun because it's our Catherine's Vineyard Chardonnay. So what we're really known for, I wanted to bring my 2017. I was there to help blend and bottle 2016, but 17 is the start to finish, my beginning to end. A big portion of it is from our old vines, so about 80% planted in 70 and 71. And when you come there, that's really special for us.
That's
there.
A year after I was born.
Yeah, these vines are really pretty old, and for a winemaker to walk into a situation and have these available to me is pretty awesome. Because usually you're seeking out those old vines, and Cambria, we have them there.
Absolutely. So this is the Catherine's Vineyard. What vintage?
2017.
Okay, 2017. Yeah. And is it 100% barrel?
So because I wanted to get to know the blocks, I would bring in blocks separately or bring them down to barrels, half, and then half stainless. So it's about 40% stainless steel fermentation and 60% barrel. So we've been known as classically barrel fermented Chardonnay. Denise, who has been the winemaker for 20 years, she's now the general manager. She started doing stainless in 15. So then we just kind of been doing a little bit, and really I was just trying to get to know the block, so seeing them 2 different fermentations. But I think the stainless steel portion still goes to neutral oak barrels and still gets stirred for the body.
Okay, got it. I'm a big fan of the combination of stainless steel blended with the oak, fermented styles to kind of get that mouthfeel and richness from the barrel fermented, but the crispness from the stainless steel.
Yeah, me too.
And getting that blend is something you do at the very end, which you got to be a part of, right?
Every winemaker says, oh, it starts in the vineyard, which it is our own vineyard. So having estate grown, produced, and bottled is really special to have total control.
I'm really picking up some nice tropical notes and a little bit of actually mango. I don't know if you're getting that.
Yeah, and that's something that we talk about a lot at the bench, having this tropical note. I mean, the acid is there too, but different areas of the vineyard sometimes bring the pear or the citrus, and that is true. The like this exuberant tropical fruit.
Oh, it's delicious. Well done. So you like making Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. Have you ever dabbled in any other varieties?
A little bit. So I made sure to work for some great winemakers, and they were always Pinot Noir and Chardonnay focused. But it was fun that they always had some kind of client they'd make wine for. So I got to make Paso Cab, and then Happy Canyon Cabernet, Syrah. So a little bit of everything, but always majority was Chardonnay and Pinot. You can find a lot of places. It's about 44,000 cases, and I think it's $22, $25.
Okay. So it's a really great price.
Yeah, I sometimes am blown away when I'm pouring the wine for people, and then they're like, price. I'm like, oh yeah, but it's so...
Yeah,
for being a state and a single vineyard wine, I think it's a really good price point.
I mean, this is smells like a $40 Chardonnay to me.
Thank you.
So,
yeah, I know. I get surprised sometimes. I'm like,
Cambria's being really responsible with their price points, in my opinion.
I'm focused in Santa Maria, but I do feel connected to the whole region. Living in Los Alamos is a small little town, but it's surrounded by vineyards, and you could tell there was something different about this fruit, and that always intrigued me. And just tasting some of our friends' wines from Santa Barbara, I was always triggered into what's going on.
How much say do you have in the wine growing aspect of the business in terms of, a lot of people believe you really make wine in the vineyard. And so when you're making decisions out in the vineyard, you're affecting what you're going to receive in the cellar.
Actually, Matt Mahoney, our vineyard manager, his office is right across from me, which I think that's for a reason, so that we're constantly talking and going out to different blocks. So even just pruning. So we can stand between 4 different blocks, and each block is being pruned differently for different reasons. And I think that's good. Instead of just sweeping across the whole vineyard and saying we're doing this on everything, we have a say. And then when it comes to leafing, I'm going out, okay, can we do a little bit more on this morning side? I think what makes Cambria special is the estate grown, produced, and bottled. So from start to finish, having that total control, winery in the middle of the vineyard. The vineyard has so much history there, just with the different, these old vines that tell a story in itself. So we even do certain bottlings that showcase those old vines. We'd have a Clone 4 Chardonnay and a Clone 4 Pinot. The devotion that the family has to continue the legacy of the vineyard and the winery, just kind of all the precision farming and all the technology. Huge in sustainability. I think everyone is working on that. The solar panels, not just in the vineyard, but in the winery. I think sustainability is also, workers loving their job. So making it a great place to work. If you're happy and like your job, you're going to make great wines.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Always a lot of work in the wine business. People don't realize how much,
it's not that
love,
glamorous.
I'd like to say, goes into it. It's a truly passionate business.
So this is our 2016 Julia's Vineyard Pinot Noir. And I wanted to bring this because Julia and Catherine, they're daughters of our proprietor, Barbara, and the Pinot is named after Julia, and the Chardonnay is named after Catherine.
Oh, okay.
So that's where the single vineyard names come in, and then when you come to our tasting room, we have 5 different Chardonnays, 9 different Pinots, different clones, different blocks that we like to showcase, but this is kind of both blends of our estate. It sounds like it's one vineyard, but when you go out to the estate, everyone knows all the different blocks are really like their own vineyards with these different soil types and different clones. So that's all coming in separately and fermented separately.
I had the privilege of trying these wines in the early 90s, and it smells exactly the same.
It smells like Julia's.
Yeah, it's so distinctive, and I just love cool climate Pinot Noir coming from Santa Maria, and you really are the pioneers.
The Chardonnay and Pinot Noir really thrives in that cool climate area, the fog and the wind. And we talk about the east-west mountain range. When you come there, we really like to point out, there's the ocean, and this is, sometimes it's dangerous for me to go to work and then the sun comes out, and that wind really cools things down. There's a lot of texture in this wine. Something we really love is that we get more than just fruit. You said it smells like Santa Barbara, Santa Maria. There's a savory spice to it. Even other winemakers that source from Julia's, you're tasting it and there you can taste Julia's.
Absolutely. What's your philosophy on oak
aging? Barrels, I think for a winemaker is so fun because it's a lot of, you're doing a lot of work in the vineyard, especially Pinot Noir needs to be touched so many times. But barrels are so fascinating to me. We're lucky that we have a partnership with World Cooperage, and we have a stave mill in France. So I like to take different barrel coopers and toasts and really try to match things. But I mean, it's about 20% new oak.
Okay.
I like oak, so I like what it does to Chardonnay and Pinot. I'm not afraid of it. I do want to just have it add something to the wine. I don't want it to be all about the oak, for sure.
And with Pinot Noir, there's different philosophies on length of aging in barrel. I know some people like to go 2 to 3 years. What's your...
This wine, we only do about 8 to 10 months. So the idea is it is a nice by the glass Pinot, easy drinking, good with food. But we do have some reserve wines that we will hold through harvest and do 14, 16 month aging. And that we also do barrel fermentation. So we take heads off new barrels. I've heard about this, Cambria does this, and I've done it at other wineries. And we do it to a lot of barrels. So our guys know how to take the heads off easily.
Really?
We actually de-stem into brand new oak barrels. So that's actually being 100% new oak, but we age back into those barrels. So
Really?
we drain and press back in. So it's kind of getting like twice used. So it's really well integrated, but I think that longer aging time helps integrate that oak.
Way to maximize the economics of the barrel. That's really interesting. I've never heard of that before. So tell me, where can people find your wines?
So we have the tasting room there, open every day. We have some great people that have been, just like the cellar crew's been there forever. They've been there forever. People come in probably to just hang out with them because they're so lovely, and to taste the wonderful wines. And when you go there, I've talked about, these are kind of our main wines, the Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, and we have multiple different Pinots, multiple Chardonnays, but what's fun is we also do a Viognier and Syrah. And talking about the Tepesquet bench, we kept those vineyards as that name. So it's Tepesquet Vineyard, Viognier, and Syrah. We have 7 acres of each, and it's fun for me to be able to, Chardonnay and Pinot are in my heart, I love them, but it's fun to be able to work with these varieties, especially Syrah. I feel like winemakers just love Syrah, love drinking it, love making it.
What's your takeaway when you go to dinner? Is there a particular wine that you like to take? Or actually, better yet, I've heard you like marrying Chardonnay with steak. You got to tell me that story.
Oh yeah. So really, I just love Chardonnay with anything and everything, and I think it really hurts my heart when people say they don't like Chardonnay. But Chardonnay can be so many different things, so if you just give it a chance. So I try to pair that with everything, so when we're barbecuing outside, Chardonnay all the way,
I have to tell you a story that I tell a lot of my friends. Wine is very subjective, and a lot of it has to do with the experience around the wine. And so it doesn't necessarily need to be a $60 or $80 bottle of wine to blow your mind. I had a great experience with one of my best man in my wedding. Before I was married, we were at Malibu Beach, and we only had 20 bucks in our pocket. We'd just been playing volleyball all day. And he said, hey, let's go get some swordfish and we'll just grill it out here on the beach at the park. And so we went to Vaughn's and we picked up a bottle of Kendall Jackson Chardonnay for $9.99, I believe it was. And then we bought a swordfish fillet. And we went out to the park and we just sat there and we opened a bottle and just shared the bottle. I mean, we passed literally a bottle back and forth.
No cups, no plastic cups.
No. The swordfish tasted so good, and the wine with the swordfish and the sunset and the conversation was just mind-blowing. And I always tell people that was one of my all-time favorite wine experiences. So it really comes down to a combination of, obviously, good wine. It's got to be good wine, but it also has to be a great experience.
Yeah, the experience I think is a lot to do with it, and the energy in the wine, the energy in the place, what's going on around you. It isn't just this glass of wine. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Jill, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much for
thank you for having me. This is so fun.
Cheers.